So shortly after the release of Tales of Aria, I had a really cool idea that I put a lot of work into, a deck I called Extra Damage Dominate using Lexi and her Shiver Bow. The deck concept performed pretty well, but was absolutely destroyed with the, yes, legitimate, banning of Ball Lightning. But now, after Outsiders and the introduction of the Lace series, I think things are a bit different. So in today's video, the second of this week's 3 Lexi Blitz videos, we're going over my EDD build, same concept, although through a different lens. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Lexi Week here on the channel. That's right, today we are covering my EDD Extra Damage Dominate Lexi Shiver build. Now, all this week, as part of our march towards Skirmish Season 9, I'm looking at 3 different ways to build our Elemental Ranger. We'll look at a standard Voltaire multi-shot build, at my personal pet deck extra damage build using Shiver, and then finally what I believe to be the best build of the format, Ice Lexi Death Dealer. Channel members, of course, have early access to all of these videos, as well as all of the existing Skirmish Blitz videos as of today. And as we go through this week, please let me know your thoughts and, of course, which is your favorite of these builds. So before we get into the deck itself, I want to actually explain the concept of the original EDD build. Now, much of this was centered around the card Ball Lightning for a couple of reasons. So first off, what Ball Lightning did was pretty self-explanatory. Not only did itself come in, but it would let all the additional cards, assuming they were the right cards, that you played that turn deal extra damage, right? So the concept behind using Shiver was that Shiver has an onboard dominate ability. So typically, like in a typical Ranger build, like an Azalea or something like that, you're trying to throw a big arrow with a lot of on-hits or something like that. The concept of the EDD, the Extra Damage Dominate, was the ED part, which is the extra damage, right? And so it's not about how much you're hitting for in terms of the actual, like if you're coming in for a 5 over a 4, that's okay, because the idea would be that any damage dealt would then start a whole string of other damages, right? So you'd have cards like Frazzle and Buzzbolt and stuff like that start kind of really adding on. You then have Shock Charmers in your hand, which can do, or not on your hand, I should say, which can do additional things when you pitch into it, because all we're trying to really do is just land the hit and then let things work for us in terms of the ping. So that was the original concept of the build at the time. Now, of course, Ball Lightning was banned, completely destroyed it. And, to be completely fair, the Voltaire builds, even in those days, were probably better, right? Were probably better. That said, we now went through Outsiders and we picked up a bunch of the Laces, the Premeditates, and stuff like that now really put us back into the space where having an onboard dominate ability is really good. And I think that's very clear if you go look at what Azalea is able to do, granted Red in the Ledger, her spec being a huge part of that. But if you go look at what Azalea is able to do with the dominates and going tall, it's very, very, very good, right? So what we're really trading here is, Shiver is a +1 or a dominate. And what we're trading here is essentially 1, or you're paying 1 for the Azalea ability, right, is really what you're doing. And you're, of course, compared to Death Dealer, you're losing a card, which is significant. But an onboard dominate, no matter what, really works for this trying to land hits regardless of how much you're hitting for, okay? So let's go ahead into the build and let me kind of walk you through what my concept is. So the main loadout here is New Horizon, which is no duh. Why would you not? Perch Gloppers blocks 2. We are running the Rustling Leaves quiver here, right, just in case we get in a weird spot. Shiver, of course. Shock Charmers is on the arms. And then Trench of Sunken Treasure. And that one is kind of important for this, in that if we get something we don't want in there, we can make the money that we need to be able to dominate. So you see a very different arrow, well, to some extent, you're going to see a different arrow loadout here than we would normally see. I am running Battering Bolt in the main board. So when this hits this was one of my spoiler cards, by the way, which is pretty hot. But when Battering Bolt hits a hero, they reveal their hand. It is called Arc, all cards other than actions, and they lose 1 health for each done this way. So the 2 for 6 isn't super awesome, but when you consider that you can now come in for a 2/6 dominate off of a chucked blue, that's not too bad. Add a pump in there, something like that. Not too shabby. Now the Boltyn shots are interesting here. How this works with the Boltyn shots is just like any other Boltyn shot works. You're going to try to either go wide and hit, or remember, you can always give it the +1 and then I'll have to go again, right? And then they have to be worried about the reload. Generally, they end up blocking. Now, we are running one endless arrow here. I don't need two of them because generally with the Dominate, you're generally able to pump it and get it to land. Or they throw a whole bunch of stuff at it and then you move on with your life. Now, we are playing stuff like Hamstring Shot, so not super traditional. Sometimes I see it played in like a Voltaire build, to be fair. But this is essentially adding a Frostbite, okay, in its own little way. And this is pretty good on the extra damage land. Heat Seeker, again, we're trying to land this and then backfill your arsenal. We then have Infecting Shot, and then we should have one more. Yeah, we have Remorseless, and then, of course, Frostlock as which actually you're able to fuse it. You are. Okay, but Remorseless and then Frostlock is your other arrows. So you go look at this, there's not the lightning arrows that I used to run. It's completely focused on just trying to land damage now instead of trying to get the pings. But we get the extra damage through the stuff that we get with Leon hits. Okay, that's why I still call it EDD. It's still the same concept. Now, in terms of the other things we're running, we are running Increased Attention. +3 and D-Reacts can't be played from hand. Okay, so now they've got to throw you something valuable on the Dominate. Now, they can still have one in Arsenal, to be fair, unless, of course, you're doing Remorseless, and then they can't, right? So, anyway. Now, in this case, we're playing Blood Rot and Inertia. So the reason that Inertia, if you recall yesterday's video, I talked about Frailty, I was talking about Withering Shot and how I thought that was better. The reason I believe Inertia to be better in this deck is because it's Dominate. So they have less card. They're going to be blocking with less cards, meaning they're going to have more cards, more likely to have stuff in Arsenal, so you can screw with them that way, right? So I think this one makes a lot of sense in this particular build. We're running Premeditate because it's crazy good. We're also running Seek and Destroy, kind of for the same concept as the Inertia, right? I mean, functionally, right? It doesn't stop them from playing it, but it blows up everything that they don't use. So it's functionally, it's like a worse Inertia, right? Because Inertia goes on bottom of the deck. Playing 3 of Kind, of course. Playing 1 copy of Weave Ice. I needed it to round out the deck with the 1 Endless Arrow. 2 Rain Razors because you're Boltyn shots. Arctic Incarceration for the Flippy Flip. Winter's Bite. Now you notice Arctic Incarceration in this one is a blue, okay, because we need it to feed. Frostlock and then Winter's Bite. Now if we go into the inventory, it's very different than what we saw. So we have no poppers other than Battering Bolt. And Battering Bolt's not really a popper in the Herald of Triumph world. So just be careful on that. But we're playing Murkmile Grapple and then Oasis Respite. And then Bullseye's Bracers. The reason this is here is for AB. Okay, so we have Trench and we have the Grapplers, or the Bracers, excuse me, gives you AB2. Okay, so we're a little weak here in a Blaze world, right? It is true, but it's better than, I believe it's better than running Shock Charmers, because you're not going to be able to feed into it. Shock Charmers only having Spell Void is really more of a combo thing, and Blaze comes at you pretty consistently. So I think you want to go with your Ranger Gloves there. And again, be careful with the Ranger Gloves. If you blow them up to reload, well, yeah, not reload, load, you get my point. Blow them up, you lose your AB. Ooh, that's bad. So again, the concept of this deck has very much changed, right? You see there's a significant lack of lightning stuff. So you're not getting the ping, 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 ping idea, but you're definitely more consistently able to land hits with this. And it's not that hard for Lexi to be able to really dominate 11. It's not that hard. And again, because you are throwing, you can do it off yellows. You don't, if you go look at the blues, there's 10 blues in this, which is actually a little higher. It's actually 2 higher than the Voltaire build we looked at yesterday. But you can actually load and fire off of a yellow, right? So you have quite a bit of flexibility there. And again, just remember with 3 of a kinds, you don't get pumps after you play 3 of a kind. So make sure you dump your pumps, pump your dumps. Ooh. Dump your pumps, and then 3 of a kind. So anyway, that'll do it for the EDD. Again, the link is below. Please have fun with this one. I have a lot of fun with this one. Now, we saw Voltaire yesterday. Tomorrow we will be covering what I believe to be the most effective of the 3 builds. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily the most fun. I have a lot of fun with this one because you can kind of be Lexi Azalea in your own little way. And you can still do the Frostbites and stuff like that. 2 Arsenal slots. It's all pretty awesome. So anyway, let me know what you think about this one, and then I will see you all bright and early, well, for me anyway, tomorrow. And go Commando.